First on the programme, thousands of new homes are built across the East every year. And to make sure they're up to scratch, developers should follow building guidelines. Joe Taylor investigates.
The Grenfell Tower disaster shocked the country, and since then there's been a spotlight on fire safety in tower blocks. Some experts believe that building regulations are not clear enough. But what about other types of houses? Does the guidance ensure standards and safety for homeowners?
On day one, when we moved in, they were literally still building the garden wall.
Phil Hoffman and his family moved into their dream home in Colchester in 2015. Right from the start, they've had problems, and although the developer has sorted some of them, 3 years on, Phil still has concerns.
The dining room is very cold in the winter, even though you've got the radiators on full, and you obviously can't understand where the heat is escaping to. And it's things like that that have opened your eyes up to possibly faults with the build.
Today, Phil's house is getting a thorough survey by a team of experts. It's being sealed, ready for energy efficiency tester Paul Buckingham to test it for air leaks by pumping smoke into the rooms to see where it travels. This isn't a fire safety test, but chartered surveyor and fire safety expert Arnold Tarling is interested in what it could show up.
OK, right, ready when you are. Right, it's just started coming out of the boiler flue there. It's just started coming out through the roof line as well.
That's incredibly quick. That is very, very worrying. Everything's connected together. You've got your bedrooms right at the top, you've got your living room. It's appalling.
The developer of this house told us cold smoke behaves differently to smoke in a real fire. But Arnold is interested in the air pathways the test shows. The test is performed again, sealing the kitchen door to find out where air can get through.
Oh my goodness, that is absolutely packed full of smoke. It's coming through at low level.
Yeah.
This is the downstairs bathroom next to the kitchen.
Even though we've got a sealant round the bottom of there, it's through the duct at the bottom of the pan.
To the bottom, yes. That's straight through from the kitchen. There's no break there at all.
No. There's no fire protection. You might as well not have a fire door.
Yeah, pointless.
The smoke in this test isn't toxic, but smoke from a real house fire is. Ideally, a building should be constructed so that the spread of fire and smoke from room to room is minimised. Arnold wants to take a close look at where the key areas have been sealed. In his view, this reduces the risk of smoke spreading.
7 out of 10 fires happen in a kitchen, in a domestic property. I think this is a boiler cupboard by the looks. Is it sealed in there? So let's get my torch. Well, there's a whacking great hole in there around the pipes going through, so that's not fireproofed. You've got a fire door, and directly above here you have a living area, and you don't want a fire from your cooker or your oven going straight through. Here we have, that's not fire resistant, just thin plastic. There's nothing behind it. No, I condemn that, that's not going to work.
Next, Arnold looks behind one of the walls to see how the plasterboard has been attached.
So there we are, it's about a 4mm gap all the way through. Well, the gap shouldn't be there whatsoever. You've got a 4mm gap behind there. It should be completely sealed off right the way across to stop any heat loss, to stop any fire spread between there. Any fire getting in through power sockets or the like, or underneath skirtings from floors below, that will go straight through to the floor above. That is not acceptable.
That's Arnold's assessment. So what does the law say? Guidance states the spread of smoke in hidden voids needs to be inhibited, but there's no clear rule about how this should be done. And when it comes to wall junctions like this, guidelines state they may need to be fire stopped or sealed to prevent the spread of flame and smoke. Additional recommendations say that a solid band of adhesive could be used to stop airflow, but even this is not an absolute rule. A review of building regulations following the Grenfell Tower fire has shown there's a lack of clarity in how they should be followed.
My assessment is it's way below standard. You'll have a tremendous amount of heat loss, and fire precautions wise, very, very poor, because as we saw from the kitchen, smoke and the like spread straight out into your escape routes via the toilet. And that's totally unacceptable. You've got 2 floors above. How would they get out? Within 5 seconds, we had smoke coming through the roof. That is appalling.
Phil just wants his home to be perfect.
I think it demonstrates a lack of quality control, and the quality control comes from the top. So however they put it right, it needs to be put right.
Arnold raised concerns about the use of cladding on tower blocks years before the Grenfell fire. Today, he also wants to look at a small block of flats in Norwich. The owner, Adam St Quintin, has already been in touch with the developer with concerns.
I bought this place in December 2016, my first property. Basically, from the moment I reserved it, it was a nightmare. Then I moved in, and when I moved in, the place wasn't finished. Then I had problems in the winter, it was freezing cold.
We're going to test to see how well those unseen voids are sealed. A smoke test shows there's an unsealed air path between the loft and the kitchen. Air is able to travel via an unsealed opening around a pipe in the roof and out from under the kitchen units. Now Arnold heads up to the loft. He thinks there isn't an adequate partition between the roof space above Adam's flat and the one over the stairway.
The wall doesn't go up full height, it's not sealed against here. There's a large gap behind the wall behind me which doesn't end correctly. So this part of the building above the flat is directly connected into the ceiling above the external hallway.
Arnold heads downstairs to the stairwell to see if electrical fittings in the ceiling there have been fire stopped.
Well, I can see straight through into the ceiling. That hasn't been fire stopped.
Arnold reports back to Adam.
The plasterboard hasn't been sealed properly on the walls, so I can see gaps between them, so fire in the common part can come up into the loft. It needs to be fire stop and the fire break between the 2 areas. They've partially built one, so they know it needed to be in there, otherwise they wouldn't have built that over height blockwork, but they never did it properly.
So I have actually emailed them regarding that wall because it concerned me when I saw it myself that it wasn't correct, and they did actually come back to me, and I had a phone call to say it's fine, don't worry about it.
The developer says both homes fully comply with all building regulations and guidance, including in relation to air tightness. Paul's tested houses for air leakage built by 8 different developers. His findings are usually disputed. Out of about 60 surveys revealing unsealed voids and plasterboard, he says only 11 have been upheld. Regulations and guidance are open to interpretation, and there's no obligation to follow a particular solution. We put our findings to industry body, the Home Builders Federation. They say that energy efficiency tests can't be applied to fire safety standards, and that to do so could cause unnecessary worry for homeowners. And they add that new homes are built to more exacting standards and are subject to a rigorous inspection and sign-off process. But both Adam and Phil just want to make sure their home is completely up to scratch.
It's probably widespread across the industry. You get contractors in, subcontractors. Where does that quality control stop? There is a gap in quality control, and it needs to be addressed.
I am angry, disappointed, also a little bit scared, like, how do we get past this? We're now on another path of trying to get things sorted. It's a never-ending list I feel like it's a journey that's never going to end.